And so you lose so much of the freedom of homeschooling when you use K-12 or your state's virtual school program. Are homeschoolers mad about it? Not really. But please don't come to us to help you fix it because we don't know. And don't get mad at us when we say, but that's not how it works. Because it just isn't.
Do we want to talk about other methods of homeschooling? Because we kind of mentioned hybrid schooling here for a minute.
We did.
And so, we'll segue off.
Okay.
So when you have states that are passing laws that give families money for homeschooling, when you have potential changes at the Department of Education, there's a good likelihood that many people are considering homeschooling. And so it's important to understand some of the, terminology and options for different types of homeschooling. And we've got a video on our YouTube channel, and feel free to go find that, where we talk through all the different philosophies.
Yes, we do.
Because there are literally, for every kind of person out there, there is an educational philosophy for you. And so they can vary widely.
Can we just step back for a minute and talk about what happened in 2021?
Okay.
Oh, I'm okay. So what happened was COVID happened and school at home was happening. School at home in that particular instance is what I call COVID schooling. And it was that teachers were in the classroom, kids were online.
Nobody really knew what they were doing yet. It was very reactionary.
They were making it up as they went along. Yeah. And parents were doing their level best. And parents decided, this is too much work. We're homeschooling. And so they went to the homeschool forums and said, hey, homeschoolers, what do we do? And the homeschoolers say, just leave the children alone, deschool them, unschool them, let them be kids. And that sounds like a really good idea.
And for some age groups, actually, it is.
Yeah, if the plan is to homeschool for the long run.
Yes.
Because a year, 6 months to a year of that is fine, because it gives children a reset.
Yep.
And then now we can do something
if they're not too close to graduation.
Yeah.
If you're close to graduation and college is the focus,
past
do not do this.
7.5.
Right.
And so all these people were like, woohoo! And they had a good old time. And then the next year, they all said, okay, that was fun. But child is playing entirely too much Fortnite.
Yep.
Let us go find a homeschool program. And they found homeschool programs like ours.
Yep.
That met once or twice a week. And they were like, here's my kid. Homeschool them. Bye.
Yep.
It's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Homeschool programs do not meet the standards in and of themselves of 5 days of schooling. And what I explain in orientation, and I do a good orientation. I hear this. So, what you have to understand is that if your child is in a homeschool program 2 days a week for 7 to 8 hours, they will be given homework that they have to go home and do for the other 3 days a week for 7 to 8 hours. And nobody was doing it.
Yep.
Fortunately for us, we saw that coming. We were like, they're not going to do it.
Right.
They've been chilling. And they're going to keep chilling. And so everyone that came to our door, we said, how long are you planning on homeschooling? Because if you're just homeschooling this year, with the exception of one child who we took,
right,
because she was very clear on what her goals were.
Right.
If you're planning on putting them back in school, we're not taking them. And a couple of kids, they were like, oh, we're going to homeschool forever. All the kids is back in school.
Yeah.
Now, whereas we gate kept, yes, we did. Because we saw what was going to happen. What happened was several homeschool programs in the area expanded to meet those needs.
Yep.
Spent a lot of money, went to debt to meet those needs. And then the next year, They had empty schools.
Yep.
And they all closed.
Yep.
And we saw that. And so now, when there's legislation happening that could dismantle public education and parents going, I'm going to tap out until they figure their souls out. My fear is that this is going to happen again. So what you all need to understand is exactly what to expect.
Right.
In hybrid education.
Right.
Right.
And also understand what you have the capacity for as a family. Because homeschooling, the parent is the principal, the parent is the teacher, the parent is responsible for the education.
And the homeschool program, we're your partner, we're your tutors, we're your guides, because we know the laws and things of that nature.
Right. We can give you curriculum. We can give you a syllabus.
We can give them the opportunity to sit in the classroom and have conversations. Which is mainly our goal, to give the kids chance to interact and discuss the materials amongst their peers.
Now,
that is not going to meet all the needs of that class.
Our organization is set up on a college model. We have class 1 to 2 days a week, depending on what the course is. The kids are going to meet. They're going to have discussion about the previous week's assignments, what they read, what they did. They're going to share the assignments that they've completed.
But they will have had to done the assignments at home to have those conversations.
They will have had to done the reading in order to have those conversations. Our class time is about getting together and conversing and better understanding, dissecting, getting to see what other people's reactions are about things.
Answering questions, getting tutoring on math problems that stumped you.
Right.
Doing science experiments in a group setting.
Because you did the reading for the science and you already understand the material. So we're what you would call a college model. Not all homeschool co-ops work that way. There are a variety of flavors that homeschool co-ops can come in. Some are really strictly electives. And so then you're responsible for your core classes. And I mean, when we first started, we were history and language arts.
Period.
Families were expected to get their science and their math elsewhere. They didn't do it. But understand that
we understood that. And as the capacity grew, we tried to help them.
No, there are online programs that can govern especially your core curriculum, and even potentially some electives, depending on what it is. There are some good ones out there. There's some that you can cherry pick, this class here, that class there. So if you have a calculus or a physics that you don't want to teach, you don't have the ability to teach, there are online classes where your kids can get those. There are some of those that happen to be accredited. You want to see what that accreditation is. Some of it is, some accrediting agencies are more accepted than others. And so you need to understand what your tolerance for this process is going to be before deciding that you're going to pull your kid out of whatever educational environment they happen to be in.
You need to do some reading, just like your kids. Everyone needs to do some reading. Every single human needs to do some reading.
Be prepared because you're now a brand new principal and teacher. Be prepared for that before you tackle it with your kids.
So it comes back to the original argument. Just because you're at home doesn't mean you're homeschooling. And just because you're in a hybrid program doesn't mean you're at school.
Right.
And so that's where a lot of the confusion is. Just like the parents who are doing public school at home feel like they're homeschooling. Parents who are dropping off their kids feel like that school's got it. Those teachers have it. And we don't have to be involved. And you do. If your child is only in a class, think about when you were in college.
Right.
If you were in psychology 4 hours a week, you also had to study 4 hours to do well in that class. A Carnegie credit, the most traditional way to get a credit is to either cover 80% of that textbook and test through it, or B, the most common way, wrong finger, is is to study 100 to 150 hours. They're only getting a third of that here.
Yep.
So if we meet for 30 weeks, right?
Yep.
And we're doing 2 hours at a time, at best they're getting half of that.
Right.
They have to go home and study. And the kids who do what we ask them to do accelerate. And the kids who don't do what we ask them to do are real confused and frustrated. And the parents don't understand what's going on. What's going on is we are not a school. We are a school program. And what you may be looking for is a private school.
Right.
And that's going to cost more than any money the government's about to throw at you.
Right.
Yeah, because teachers cost money.
They do.
Facilities cost money. And all of this takes time. And as a homeschooler, some of that time needs to happen at home.
Saying that the private school tuition is not going to be what the government gives you if you know how to.
Not here, because I did not move to Georgia thinking that my kids were ever going to see a public school. And then I found out that public school in Georgia is a house payment.
Yeah.
It was equal to mortgage.
Yeah.
And for 2 kids, I was paying it. Especially when I grew up in Catholic school, and that was really inexpensive comparatively. And in the previous states, we used Catholic, we used church or Catholic schools. Yeah. But even the church schools here are entire.
Well, and they're difficult to get to from.
Right. Their entire house payments. And so understand, the net and net of this is, understand, if you decide to tap out of the public school system next year, and I can't blame you if you do, I will be happy to take your kids on till I reach my capacity.
Right.
Provided that you understand that there is a certain amount of work your child has to do at home, and you looking over their shoulder every now and then wouldn't hurt at all.
And if a kid doesn't have good work ethic, they may need a warm thigh to make that happen.
Yeah. Or tutors or things of that nature. There are things that you're going to have to provide. If you, the parent, like for instance,
well, you need to explain warm thigh.
Oh, somebody sitting right next to you, so that
you feel the warm thigh,
your thigh
right there.
Yeah, warm thigh.
Your warm thigh.
Somebody sitting right next to your student.
And I did that when my kids were middle school age.
Until they develop the habits of getting their stuff done.
We sat at the dining. I took the whole dining room table and moved it into the great room. Moved the great room furniture out. Lit the fire. Turned on the TV into some soft music or whatever, and we sat there for 6 hours a day. On the days that they didn't have classes, doing work together. I was doing my job, which was writing for websites at the time, and they were doing their schooling. And just my presence there really helped keep them on task. And so find ways to keep your kids on task. My daughter, who you've seen on this channel, has been a homeschool nanny. Does she like it? But she has been a homeschool nanny. Well, she loves the children. I'll leave it there. She has been a homeschool nanny for kids in stringent homeschool programs where they needed 2 or 3 days at home, 6 hours a day or so, to do their schoolwork, to keep them on task. And they paid her about $125 a day. Now, if you take what we're paid and then add $375 to it, you're still not going to meet the demands of a private school locally here. So there's also that. You may decide that there are homeschool programs in the area that do digital days, and it's something that we've discussed, where everyone's just on Zoom and a monitor or two are watching to make sure children aren't sleeping, or, just to make sure they're getting their work done. So there are ways, especially in this day and age. When I was homeschooling, it wasn't common, but in this day and age, it's a lot of single parents.
Right.
Homeschooling, especially since COVID, there are a lot of single parents homeschooling. So you have to understand that you either need to provide time to help your homeschooler, even if they're in a hybrid program, or more money to bring in people to help you. I think that's it. think that's what I have.
Oh, and to confirm, my mom said she didn't pay anything.
Oh, cool.
It was free.
But she brought in tissues and paper goods and things of that nature.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they pay the teachers
here's
garbage.
The thing. It's
They
not free because property taxes and in many counties sales taxes. And so you're paying it. You just don't know you're paying.
Right. I mean, she didn't have to like go and take a check and to get it in, but it's government funded, so it came from her at some kind of way.
And honestly, the money that the government is threatening to give parents who are homeschooling is not going to equal.
It's not even going to equal what you're giving them.
It's not going to equal. They're going to be skimming some off the top. It's. I mean, is it even a third? Is it $10,000 that they're suggesting? Even a third?
I mean, I think it depends on the person.
Maybe it's not a third of what we pay, but is it a third of what they're giving the schools?
Oh,
no.
You have to run utilities to those facilities. You have to do maintenance on them.
The fields and...
Right. I mean, there's...
The police to busing in and out the school buses. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it costs a great deal of money to educate a child, no matter how you do it. The question is whether or not you see that you're paying it, or are you paying for one system and using another, so you're now paying double. I mean, that's the calculus.
So, yes. So, those are the big topics right now, and I gather they're going to continue.
Right.
This is not going to get settled. K-12 as homeschooling, it just isn't. However, there are a lot of homeschoolers who are in K-12 who have made groups or joined groups for electives.
Right.
And that's a really good way to enrich your homeschooling, and I'm all for that. Provided the kids don't have to be sitting in front of a teacher at a certain time.
Right.
Because if you want to join a homeschool theater group, that's probably going to start at 2.
Right.
Right? And so you need to be able to take that time, come out and do your 2 to 3 hours of rehearsal. And then also Tech Week, you're going to have to find a way to still get your schoolwork done while participating in Tech Week, while the other kids in a homeschool group may not have class Tech Week. So, yeah, things like that. So, we are CheesePress Publishing. We are curriculum publishers. We are halfway through our ancient history curriculum right now. It will be followed by medieval, early modern, and modern history, and probably an American history right after that.
Understand all of our history curriculum includes language arts components,
yes,
so that can be taught as one unit.
Because we strongly believe that if you're going to be learning about modern world history and learning about World War II, that why wouldn't we also be reading the Diary of Anne Frank while we're at it? So we definitely pair our literature and our history and our writing exercises. What better way to demonstrate than to go ahead and write about it?
Right. And when you're studying the literature in the time that it was written or in the time that it's talking about, then the literature makes more sense.
Yes.
Because you see the historical reasons that gave rise to that literature.
Besides that, we are developing for lower level students, for kindergarten through 5th grade, we're developing a line of homeschool portfolio journals to make sure the children hit whatever milestone they're supposed to hit up until that level to demonstrate that they know their work. If you're in a state like New York, a heavy homeschool rules state, this is a really good book. It's a good book for anyone just to have and to be able to say, you're homeschooling. Kids look back in 3 years and go, I don't remember anything about this. You're like, no, look.
You didn't teach me that.
Honey, I did. We learned all that. But schools with heavy homeschool regulations, these are really good for that. We have at least one independent author at this point in time, and he's written an amazing sci-fi book, the first of several, called Explorer 2000, Lost in Taldish Sector. And it's a really cool book that he and his kids developed the plot and the storyline and the characters. And so that's really neat. In addition to that, we on our YouTube channel make history videos go along with the book stuff we've written, some just history. And so Out of all that, we run a not-for-profit homeschool program called Hazelwood Prep. And as of right now, we started out as a history with language arts integration program. We eventually added married math and science because you need certain maths to understand certain sciences. And this year we've added the arts, so music, theater, the
Art.
class I teach personally.
The class that you teach. We also have writing.
We also have creative writing class. And we are in Gwinnett County in Georgia.
I feel like we do something else too, though.
Lay down when we're done.
We run a theater program that's heavily focused on the classics.
Right.
So our theater program tracks along with our curriculum.
Right.
And because we teach in the classical model, ancient, medieval, early modern. First 3, we're going to do Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, kids.
So this year we're studying ancient history, and we're ending the year with a production of Julius Caesar.
Yeah.
Right. And so we've done Hamlet. We did As You Like It, and then last year we actually did Alice in Wonderland because it was modern times, and so we stepped out of
give them a break from Shakespeare
for that. And that's who we are, and that's what we do. And here's the thing: when it's time to graduate, and this is what everybody's worried about, what are they going to do when they graduate? I'm really good at helping prepare your child for college, for outlining the program they should go through if they're nowhere near me. If they're near me, walking you through it personally, creating those homeschool portfolios that everyone talks about, and filling out the applications, which is why we're out of time for today, because I was helping someone with their essay who waited for the last minute. And
waited to the very last
5 more minutes me to death, and then needed my time.
Our entire afternoon.
So, what we do.
So if they wanted help with that, how can they reach you? What email is best?
If they wanted help with the academics,
with the college prep,
counseling for their college prep stuff.
Yeah.
Hermit, AHERMITT at hazelwoodprep.org.
Say that one more time.
Hermit, AHERMITT at hazelwoodprep.org. Speaking of which, Monday,
a week from tomorrow,
is Giving Tuesday. And we are going to be raising money for Hazelwood Prep.
We are.
Why? We need to expand. We need to make room for all these kids that will be coming in. And we want to definitely make our arts program bigger and give children actual space to rehearse.
Yep.
And things of that nature. It's not going to cost us a lot, but it's going to cost a lot more than we have.
Yeah.
And so please come back and live stream with us.
It's Tuesday.
My word.
Live stream next Monday, but it won't be for this.
Right.
So please come back and live stream with us next week on Tuesday.
A week from tomorrow.
Yes. We'll be doing more history trivia, and we'll be talking about our program. And you have homeschool questions? That's a good time to ask us.
There will also apparently be challenges. I don't know what we might be asked to do.
Just fun things, surprises. I can't tell you, and you're already prepped for it. Some things I will prep you for, but other things
I make weird faces.
You have to be caught on camera reacting.
We do understand I don't improv well, right? I'm just saying.
There has to be someone that's not good at it in the room.
Oh, no. I think my child is actually also going to help with this, too.
Has he agreed?
He has agreed to stay our afternoon.
Yes.
So he will be part of the live stream, and we've got all kinds of friends that are going to be helping us out and joining us for the live stream.
So it's after 4. We hope to see you next Monday and also next Tuesday.
Oh, yes.
I got it right.
Yeah. So next time.
Hey, y'all. This is Miss Mare.
And this is Miss Andrea.
And we're with Hazelwood Prep.
We want to remind you that Georgia gives on Giving Tuesday.
The mission of Hazelwood Prep is to foster an inclusive educational community that inspires excellence. We blend language arts and history, and we track math with science in a hybrid learning environment.
We teach through the arts and house a fantastic theater program.
Find us and other Georgia nonprofits at gagives.org and consider giving.